Hey guys, my name's Gloria and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing a review of The Institute by Stephen King. So this book was actually an emergency buy for me. I was about to get on a bus that I thought it was going to be 4 hours. It turned out to be like almost 6. I don't know what the hell happened. And it was also the second hottest bus that I've ever been on. And the bus driver didn't seem to give a shit, so I know what torture means is what I'm saying. So I was about to get on the bus and I got like 3 text messages because people know how crazy I am about notebooks, saying that I left my notebook and the novel I was about to start reading in my sister's house, which was too far away from the bus depot to get. So, you know, I wasn't about to get on a 4 to 6 hour bus journey with nothing. You know, I'm not a heathen. So I went into the nearest Eason and this was staring me right in the face. And you might be thinking, don't you have a review blog? Don't you have like a list of books that people have asked you to review? Don't you have a Kindle app on your phone? And yes, is the answer to all those, but also, why did you bring that up? That's just mean. That's kicking me while I'm down. Why would you do that? So this is, I think, Stephen King's newest book. It's the newest book of his I've read anyway. I like the cover. I spent a long time staring at this cover, trying to figure out what kind of a monster it is, because that's what fucking movie posters have done to me now. They've always got things in the background. I can tell you that, no, it's just a boat. It's kind of cool, but it's a boat. So The Institute is about an institute. Shocker. I'm not 100% sure if it's government run. I'm sure the government have something to do with it. They generally do. It's a terrible place where they take children who have some sort of very weak, generally very weak, telekinetic or telepathic abilities, to torture them for unknown reasons when you get into the book. So we actually start off, I've forgotten his name because Tim. Yeah, I'll get into why I forgot his name. But we start off with Tim. Tim is on a plane. Tim is asked, well, everyone on the plane is asked to give up a seat for someone who needs to take that plane, and they're offered like $2,000. Nobody wants to take it, which I don't. I mean, give me the $2,000, I'll build you a seat. But Tim takes it and he gets off the plane, and instead of getting on a different plane, I think he was going to New York or something, he decides to just randomly go hitchhiking. I guess he doesn't need to be anywhere anytime soon. So he wanders off across a couple of states, I think, and ends up in a small town where they're looking for a night knocker. Now, I had to Google night knocker. I had to Google what a night knocker was because I didn't know. I'd never heard of it before, and even in the book he says it's kind of an old school thing that his grandfather did, I think. So a night knocker's just sort of a cop who walks about at night making sure there's no trouble going on. And he gets a job doing that, and he's in a small town, and you're like, cool, we're gonna learn more about the town, we're gonna learn more about him and his backstory and why he up and left went to this random little town. Then we cut to the main character of the book, who is Lucas Ellis, who's a 12-year-old absolute genius who is so smart. At the age of 12, he's about to sit his SATs. That'll mean something to Americans. And he's trying to convince his parents to let him take on 2 different degrees in 2 different universities. I've just about managed 1 degree in 1 university, so he doesn't know what he's in for really. But he is genius, and he has very small telekinetic abilities. It's shown they're in a restaurant having pizza, and he gets a little excited and slides a pizza tray off the table, and his parents are just like, whatever. It's more interesting that he can do complicated equations in his head, and given that I'm I'm in tune with the Vikings and thinking that maths is pretty much magic and witchcraft. Yeah, that's more interesting. So, unfortunately, right after we meet him and his parents, he gets abducted by these terrible people and gets taken to the institute and wakes up in a room just like his own at home, but there's no window, there's no way to get out. He meets other kids, some older, some younger, and he's trying to get as much information as he can to glean what is up, what is happening, why they have them there, if they're actually going to get out, because they're told that they will be let out soon after all the tests that are done on them, and that they're serving their country, and they're going to have their memories wiped so they won't remember any of the horrible stuff that's happening to them. But Lucas is kind of like, yeah, I don't really trust, I don't trust that. So that's the basic premise of the book. Classic Stephen King, government trying to get to kids with telekinesis. You know, we've heard it before. It is well written, and I did really like it, but the one issue I had with it was pretty much that the first character we meet, Tim, who's like the adult who's, you assume, is going to help Lucas out, because in a world where no one listens to kids, there needs to be some kind of an adult that believes them and wants to help them, and that's great. But I know nothing more about Tim. There's a vague sort of mentioning of something that happened to him because he was an ex-police officer, or he was a police officer and he's had to leave for a while, and you're sort of told what that is, but you don't know anything else about his life. He gets to this small town, he sees a woman called Wendy, and then when you skip to the end, not the end of the book, but when you skip to when he actually meets Lucas, Tim and Wendy are dating, but you don't really care because you don't know Wendy, you don't know Tim, you don't know anything really about the townspeople. It's like, one of my favourite Stephen King books is actually Dr. Sleep, which I know a lot of people didn't like that. The book, the movie was alright, but I actually really like the book, and maybe it's just because it's Danny from The Shining that he got so much of a backstory. But it's not even The Shining backstory in Dr. Sleep. It's him as an adult and him traveling through all those towns and being a custodial nurse or whatever, and him having an alcohol problem. But in this book, I know nothing about Tim. I know that he used to be a cop, and at the end, him and Wendy are kind of dating. I don't really care. I didn't really care about him or her or anything. The main guy is Lucas, and the younger and older kids that he meets. The kids are great. The relationships they have together are great. It is kind of a testament to Stephen King, I think, that he does have modern things in here. You know, the kids are listening to sort of modern music. I'm sure an actual 12-year-old would read this and be horrified, but you know, he mentions Fortnite, so that's good enough, I think. That's fine. And you'll notice, I don't know if you can see my t-shirt today, but this is pretty much what Luke does. Spoiler alert, you know, spoiler, but this is pretty much Luke Ellis not liking the Institute, slinking back from it, you know. The actual, I'm not going to give any spoilers, but the plot twist of the book, the reason behind the Institute and everything, it is kind of interesting, but it didn't really shock me. I think the lead up to it, like, you kind of expect the experiments that happen and things that happen to the kids, you expect those to be little breadcrumbs that lead to a big moment where you're like, oh, it all makes sense, I totally get it now, this is where they're all connected. And they are connected, but it seemed a bit more random. Like, this institute has been going for a long time, and I mean, the whole plot point is that it's kind of they've become complacent and they're not really keeping up to date on security systems and stuff, and that's why certain things can happen. But it felt like it was a bit, almost like the first month it was open, like they were just trying shit out, like they didn't know what was going to work, what was going to get them the results they wanted. There's like side experiments that go on that they're just like, yeah, we'll throw in a bit more torture, we'll see what happens, you know. So, I don't know, that bit didn't really get me. He is a genius, obviously, that's well established, and it was believable that he managed to work out the things that he worked out, and the ending was a bit odd. It was just a bit, I don't know, the last few books that I've read, I mean, I have The Outsider here, I did have Elevation, but I got rid of that as quick as I could. The last few books of Stephen King's haven't been the best. Obviously when you've got like, 60, 70 novels out, there's gotta be hits and misses, you know, but it just feels like not as much care was taken with the story in this. I wasn't as hooked in as I normally would have been with some of his older novels, and the ending was just a bit naff, to be honest with you. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure how I would have fixed it, how you could have fixed it, but I don't know. It didn't get me as much as I hoped. I did like it. It was a good book. It was good for the bus journey that I had, and I'm gonna keep it on my shelf probably. In saying that, I only keep books that I feel like I'm going to read again, that I actually enjoyed. If I didn't like a book, I give it away, I send it somewhere. I actually do have to get rid of The Outsider because I really didn't like The Outsider. I don't think there's anything I liked about that book, so I do have to get rid of that. But I'll replace it with this. This can stay on the shelf. I quite liked it. Let me know what you thought of it down below. Let me know if you think I should have ironed this t-shirt. Like this video if you think that ironing is for the devil and you hate it as much as I do, because I refuse. I just refuse. If you like my earrings too, I quite like these. These are the Floor from The Shining. Ooh. I got them from In the Horrors. I'll put her name down below. She's a Galway artist. She made cool things. I liked her on Instagram, so I got these cool earrings from her. They're pretty cool. She makes all kinds of jewelry and stuff that are horror related. I'll be back soon with the horror tag actually, because as you may notice, horror is quite a bit in my life, so I'll be doing a horror tag, which I'm excited to do. It's gonna be fun, and I'll see you next video. Bye!